Welcome back to another edition of Coach's Corner. I'm here at Cromer Stadium with the head coach of the Panthers, Gary Cook, and coach big week this week against Bradshaw Mountain. But first off, let's talk about last week up in Kingman at Lee Williams. Scoreless first half, but we're able to make a bit of a comeback there in the second half. Take me through your
Yeah,
takeaways.
that was a great victory for us. First of all, Lee Williams is a good football team. The week before against Bradshaw, that was a one touchdown game, and they came out. They did some really nice things against us at the beginning of the game, schematically. They had two drives in the first half that were like 16, 17, 18 plays. We barely touched the football in the entire first half. We came out of it 6-0, down 6-0. But in the second half, we scored that first possession, and then we scored every possession we had the ball until we took a knee on the last one. So, really big victory in terms of what we're talking about breaking through. That was a quality team. We were on the road. It's a difficult place to play. There isn't a single coach in this league that likes to play there. It's just a different atmosphere. But we made a goal line stand early, and we made another stand later in the game. And in the second half, the offense scored four times in a row. So, really big, important victory for us. So,
I know Lee Williams possessed the ball a lot in the first half, like you said,
yeah.
but what changed for you guys offensively, do you think, in the second half? Was it just more
Well, we
possession
just
time?
never had the ball in the first half. If you recall, we got to stop on the 1 yard line in the first possession, and then we started to move, and then we got a 15-yard penalty that killed that drive. The next time we got the ball, we fumbled it on the second play. That was it until we got the ball back with a minute and a half to go in the half, and we had a little bit of a drive going, but then we dropped a pass on fourth down. So we really didn't have any sustained drives. We really didn't even have the ball in the first half. So second half, it was good. We were moving it. We were clicking, and we were doing things both side, both offense or throwing the ball and running the ball. So just a really good performance in the second half. But the first half, we just simply didn't have the football. So
Well, now looking ahead to this week, big game against Bradshaw Mountain, the last two unbeaten teams in the Grand Canyon region, them and you guys. What's the message to your guys this week?
well, okay. So here's a little history. The very first time, the day I met this group here 2.5 years ago, what I talked about that day was we talked about the team across town, but we also talked about Bradshaw Mountain. Okay, this is to us, it's like a Michigan, Ohio State thing. I'm from Michigan, I'm a big Michigan fan. In Michigan, Michigan State is a rivalry, but Ohio State is the rivalry. So for us here, obviously the team across town, because it's inner city, that's a rivalry. But this is the one that really matters. Why? Because Bradshaw Mountain, in my opinion, is the standard in this league. And the very first day I ever met Coconino football players, I said our goal is to beat Bradshaw Mountain because they're the standard. And if we're going to become the standard, then we have to basically knock the king off the hill. And so, this is perfect. This is exactly what we've been talking about. Now we've had two games against them since then. We won the first one last year. We lost with a minute to go. But this is the first time really late in the season. Both teams are undefeated. Nobody else is within two games. This is for the league championship. So it's kind of what we've been talking about here for 2.5 years about that particular program and that particular team. So huge, huge.
Well, second straight week, you'll have one of the best running backs in this league to deal with. Lucas Leach. You held him under 100 yards to season low, actually, last week. Now you have Kylan Jackson coming up this week for Bradshaw Mountain. How do you think you're going to be able to slow him down?
Well, he's a good back, but uh, the biggest problem with them is they're another one of these teams that are giving you a million different looks. And so what you're doing in practice is spending a lot of time trying to get lined up properly instead of maybe doing physical football, which isn't that big a problem at this late point in the season. But they what they do is they give you a whole bunch of little looks, and if a whole bunch of different looks, and if you're off a little bit, it can create a crease, and that's where he is really at his best. So, and we play good defense, especially up front. I'll put our front against anybody in the league, and I think we've proven that. So I think we could contain him, but it's the little adjustments that have to be made properly that if you don't, you could leave yourself in a vulnerability. You're not covering something that they might try to exploit you with. So
Coach, as always, thanks so much for your time. We'll see you Friday. Best of luck.
Okay, man. Thank you.